Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm going to be doing my top 10 games of 2021 revisited. This is another top 10 that is based off an idea that I saw someone else do for 2022. I have also done my 2022 revisited, so you can go check that out, but I figured, why stop there? Why not do all of the most recent top 10s that I have data for? So here we are with 2021, which was again another fantastic year. And this revisited list has quite a bit of changes. Like there's a lot of new games on here, mainly because some of the games I don't even have off the original list. So yeah, if you're not familiar with what I'm doing here, basically I looked at my top 10 games that I did in 2021. I took a look at other games and redid the top 10, and then just now I'm basically doing it again. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my honorable mention that was way higher on the original list, and that is Unfathomable, if I could spell. So Unfathomable is Fantasy Flight's remake of Battlestar Galactica, just completely rethemed. I mean, you can even see it says it re-implements Battlestar Galactica. Now, personally, I enjoy this theme a lot more, mainly because I haven't watched all of the show for Battlestar, and even though Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is phenomenal, Unfathomable basically hits those exact same feelings within the game. You have your characters that you're playing with their ability, and then also if they choose to reveal themselves as the trader, they have a trader ability, and you move around the map doing various actions. It has basically the same beats. You have your 4 dials that you're trying to keep up. Sanity, food, passengers, and fuel. Also have a destination that you're trying to get to, and then your deck of like inclusion cards that make whenever you're doing challenges, like those are randoms that get thrown in to mask the trader if it succeeds or fails. I think they did a fantastic job with this. It fell last time, it was number 4. So, and that's mainly because I haven't played it all that often. It plays up to 6, like 5 to 6 players. I mean, you can do 4, but really, once you start hitting that upper player limit, that's whenever the game really shines, just because that's more people that could potentially be traders, can be cultists. I think they did a really good job of capturing the theme and implementing the deep ones into it. So surprisingly, they didn't, I mean, I guess maybe not surprisingly, but they haven't supported it. Like, the game hasn't, I mean, it's been out for 2 years now, and it hasn't had even one expansion. So I'm guessing that it didn't do too well, even though I thought it should, considering that if you want to get Battlestar Galactica, you either have to find a completely beat up copy or pay out the ass to get it. And this one was great straight out the box. Like, I think it could do with one expansion just to give more content to it. And yeah, but if you're looking for a replacement to this, Unfathomable is great. It gives you that exact same feeling. So that's my honorable mention. My number 10 was actually number 10 last time, funny enough, which I have played this game more recent, but what makes me a little upset is that this doesn't seem like it's going to be getting any support, and that is Radlands. So Radlands is by Roxley Games. It's a post-apocalyptic 1v1 like card game where you are controlling various what do they call them? Camps. This is actually a really good picture. This must be that's definitely a homemade playmat. But you have these various camps that give you special abilities, and then you share this deck of cards, of scavenger cards, that you can use for like face down, which are kind of like, they just don't do anything, but they take up space in your column to defend your camps. You have face-up cards you can play that will give you abilities throughout while they're in play or immediate, and then all cards have a like trash icon up at the top left. But basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to destroy I think it's 2 out of 3 of your opponent's camps. And the main resource, and really the only resource, is water. And you only have so much water, and each action requires you to use water. You have events you can place out that are timed that your opponent will get to see as they're coming down the pipeline. Everyone has this this Raiders card that's, it goes on the 2 and you damage one of your opponent's camps of their choice. But this game just has a really good synergy to it. Like, even though you're sharing the one deck, which normally I would find kind of unfair, it works in Radlands more than not. And I think it's just because these cards have a lot more going to them. There's events, there's characters, there's the trash icon. So when your opponent draws a card that you know might have been good for you, it's not that big of a deal because you're going to be able to draw cards that are basically giving you icons that you're wanting as well, or abilities that you're wanting. I love the fact that whenever you're playing this game, you get to build your camps, or you get to choose your camps, and that's kind of going to be your overall strategy throughout the game. And there's a ton of these camps that you get to pick from. So the art's fantastic. The setting, I like that neon post-apocalyptic kind of feel instead of the dreary Fallout style. I enjoy this a little bit more. And what I was talking about is there's no support for it, and I think that's because the designer has come out and stated that more content would just water down the game, which I see where he's coming from. The game is very fine-tuned, so kind of makes sense that he's not going to add more content to it, but it is a shame just because the game itself is so good. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic 1v1 game. So that is my number 10, Radlands. Again, that was number 10 last time. Then we move on to number 9, which was not on the list at all, which is actually kind of weird because maybe I just didn't play it, and I'm really hoping it is 2021. Yeah. And that is Roll Camera. Maybe I didn't have my copy by the time I did my top 10 for this. Yeah, so Roll Camera actually does have a few expansions. Like, it has these kind of story packs, but then the B-movie expansion, which allows you to make just horrible B movies. But this is you know what, actually, you're going to get to see this live, fellas. I'm actually going to bump this up 2 points. Originally, it was a 7, now it's a 9. And the reason for that is because this game is such a well designed cooperative game, I think anyway. Like, it's a unique theme, a theme you don't really see. This is a Kickstarter version that I now have. I guess I didn't have it prior, where it has the collapse, like the clacker thing, and then everything stored in this film roll plastic container. But the overall premise of the game is you're creating a film, and you're either trying to make it so bad it gets a cult following, or so good that it's like Oscar worthy. And you're meeting your script. Like, you get appraisal points or whatever it's called for meeting the script, and then also for putting in specific scenes. But it's essentially a dice worker placement. Every player will get to roll dice whenever it's their turn and utilize those dice to either deal with unseen events, to play idea cards that are kind of event cards that will really help you out, to place, this is actually a great picture, to place stage tiles that you are going to put the die faces on to shoot the scene that you're wanting, that needs to be in a very particular order and with particular faces to put down on your whatever they call that, your shooting board or editing board. This game I think is extremely thematic. Everything is integrated. I mean, yeah, it has this kind of weird art style that I'm not a big fan of the art, but I get kind of why they went this more cartoony route. It fits. The game is very comical, so I enjoy that a lot about it. But it gives you a lot of leeway because you have to at least be out of the pink whenever the game is wrapping up. And you only have a certain number of rounds before the game will end, and you also have to manage your time and you have to manage your budget. So if you run out of money, you lose. If you run out of time, you lose, and you have to shoot at least 5 scenes. And there's some modules that are put into the game that allow you to like extend how many scenes you need to shoot, make the game easier or harder on you. And then the expansion with the B movie, the B movie expansion means that you are trying to actually get these tokens. Like there's requests for having, okay, well now this scene right here, yeah, with the parents, that actually wants to be a Western, so you have to get Western tokens on it. And the other thing that I like about this game, and you don't have to do it, but at the end of the game, whenever you are done, you try and tell a story of what your movie is about. And I like how that's done after the game. If you want to do it, you don't have to, but it does kind of just make the game feel complete whenever you kind of ad lib what the movie is overall. And the B movie expansion does enhance that even more. So I think this is a very, very difficult but fairly difficult cooperative game, and we'll see if they make more content. I mean, it sounds like that they're doing these story packs. I don't even know if I have all of these. I think I got some. I think I got the murder mystery story pack. But anyway, yeah, so that is my number 9 roll camera. Number 8 was not on the list in 2021. And I wonder if that's just because I didn't include like second editions or remakes or anything like that. But in the revisited, I think I will, just because it's been 2 years at this point. 3 technically, because it's 2024. But since I've done this, it's been 2 years. And I don't know. I think this game is different enough, and it's been pumped with content that I just had to talk about it. So my number 8 is Summoner Wars. And specifically second edition, because I did not like the original Summoner Wars. I hated the combat. I hated I can't really say dex, but I really just mainly hated the combat, how you just had kind of a 50-50 shot, or even less than. I think you needed a 5 or 6. Either way, you had less chances of hitting, and so you did all this strategy to try and position yourself, and then if you just rolled poorly, that was it. In second edition, that has been completely rectified with these dice, that you can still miss, but the chances of you missing are very slim, because your characters, like this Bear Cavalry, just a common unit, is rolling 3 dice and it needs to get 3 swords. So the chance of you rolling, no swords is still, there, but you're at least going to probably get 1 hit. And because of that, and I always forget, I think the enemies have, or the units, I can't remember, I think they have more health, if I'm not mistaken, because they're going to be hit more. It's either they have more health or they have less health, because you get mana whenever you kill units. Something about the health has been changed from the first edition to the second edition that enhances the game, because when you kill opposing units, you get mana. You need mana to summon more units, and you need mana to cast spells and bring in more gates. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is easily, like, I don't really like skirmish games. There's like been one miniature skirmish game that I've enjoyed, but now, like, I consider this one to be up at the top, because they just have so many expansions. Like, I don't know what that is. So, like, if we look at the expansions, yeah, these are all, and I think I have all of them too. I haven't played with all of them, but yeah, these are all remade factions. I don't know how many are new or how many are from the original set, because I didn't play that much of first edition, but there's a ton. So I really want to do a tournament for this game, just because there's a ton of factions, and I've done tournaments for a few others. But yeah, with the here we go. Yeah, this is a good picture right here. This sexy picture. You notice how it didn't even zoom in. But yeah, like the card-based maneuvering is genius. Like it keeps this game at a low price point. You know exactly what the units do because it says it right on their card. Uh, each faction plays completely different from itself. I know that there's ways to deconstruct the factions. I don't know if they've officially released rules or if there were rules in the original and now you can do it because there's a ton of factions out. I don't remember. I haven't done it. I've only played with the pre-con factions, but I really like this game. I think that all the factions, even though some of them aren't my favorite, I can definitely see how they're meant to be played and how they could be someone's favorite. But yeah, playing against one another, depending on who their faction is and who your faction is, you're going to strategize completely different. I love that about 1v1 skirmish games. So yeah, they're killing it with this. As far as I know, they have no interest in relenting. I think there's going to be even more expansions coming out in 2024. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Summoner Wars, you have a summoner that basically you're trying to defeat the opponent's summoner. And they also, I think this is a new rule, where if you do not attack on your turn, your summoner takes damage. And that's essentially a timer because it can kind of come down to where there's no more units. Because once your deck is gone, it's gone. And so if that happens to both players, you can basically, if you can't get to each other in a way to attack, then you're going to start taking damage, and then that's how you lose. So you can't really stalemate. Now you can look at it and be like, okay, both our summoners are out. Neither of us can get to each other. How much damage are we going to take, and who's first player? Like that's kind of how you would wrap that up. But yeah, I like the fact that the summoner units have their own special abilities, and yeah, it's just a really solid 1v1 skirmish game. And it was not on the original list, probably because I didn't consider second editions at that time. And now we move on to my number 7, which was number 6 last time, so didn't really move all that much. I'm guessing, yeah, like couple new games bumped up. And number 7 is Mantis Falls. Mantis Falls is a fantastic game. As you can see, I give it a 10 out of 10. This was more of a concept game that I backed just to see if it even worked, because it says it's a cooperative game that's only really cooperative sometimes. But it's for 2 to 3 players. This is a 2 to 3 player hidden trader game that actually works. It's so good. They do a fantastic job of giving you that noir feel, because in this game the theme is that you witness something that you shouldn't have and you get put into like this witness protection thing. You meet someone at a diner and you're trying to get out of town. So you're walking from the start of the road to the end of the road, and but you're not entirely sure if the person you met there is actually the person you were supposed to meet, or maybe the person you were supposed to meet was killed and this is their replacement. So it's kind of a game of bluffing and hidden roll on whether or not you're an ally or a traitor. And it works. Like, I kid you not, it works. So yeah, what's really cool about this game as well is it encourages multiple playthroughs, because you're going to want to know what event cards are possible. You're going to want to know what item cards are in there and how strong they are and how useful they are, which the game gives you a booklet that tells you kind of, hey, here's when you should use this card. Because there's like, I think it's this one, the Ricochet. No. Oh, wait, there it is. Redirect wounds. Yeah, so there's only one of these in the deck, and it basically completely redirects all types of wounds. So if someone's about to try and kill you, you can redirect it back to them. But if your opponents don't know that that's in the deck, then they could get caught off guard, because they're also dealing with an event deck. Let's see if I can find... Oh yeah, here's one that's played. Yeah, so you have an event deck that like the first player will draw, and they put it back on top. They can tell you exactly what it is, if it's hidden or revealed. If it's revealed, it just happens. But if it's hidden, they can say exactly what it is, and hope that, and like how strong or difficult it's going to be, because everyone needs to contribute cards to try and deal with it. Um, and then there's these difficulty cards that are like these threat markers that are on each card, from the sunset to night to the dark until you get to the end of the road. These numbers will also determine like strength. That's like an event would be like, hey, the threat is based off the red light on your current location. So if you're here, it'd be 4, which would be pretty high. You also have everyone has a call and a hit that if you go on a spot with a telephone, you can call in a hit to try and kill someone. But there's ways to cut the phone lines. Like there's just an answer to everything, and I love the fact that you have wounds. So every character has wounds, but if they ever hit 0, there is a chance they have this last gasp meter that are ways for them to try and come back. But every time you do that, you can only do it so many times before eventually your body just gives out. This game should not work. Like I just talked about Unfathomable and how it needs 5 to 6 players to really shine, and this game is capped at 3, but they somehow were able to nail it on the head. It does say best with 2, and I don't know. Like I really like it at 2 and 3, because in a 2-player game, everyone's playing the full game. In a 3-player game, it's like the third player is a bystander, and the bystander rotates. So it's still 2 players kind of playing the game, but the third player can kind of chip in when certain cards allow them to. But that rotation of like, hey, does the bystander want to help? They're kind of watching, they can contribute, but they're also paying attention. They could be a traitor. It works like as a 3-player game. Now, if you don't like the idea of someone just kind of not always being involved, then yeah, I mean it shines more at 2, but 3 equally works. So I highly recommend checking out this game, because I haven't seen anything else like it, and normally low player count trader games either don't exist or they don't work. So that is my number 7, Mantis Falls. Number 6 actually bumped up a little bit. It was number 8 last time, and that's probably because I have finished it. This is actually one of the few campaigns that I have finished. So, and that is Role Player Adventures. So, yeah, this was a campaign that I was probably in the middle of whenever I did the top 10 last year, and I have since finished it, and it does have an expansion now. It has the Gold Pack Secret expansion, which I haven't had a chance to play it though. Yeah, this game is fantastic. This is one of those very manageable campaign games, and there's not a lot of those. Usually they're very sprawling and very big and very long, which I personally love. However, that does require a lot of time and commitment. This one, it's 10 chapters, and that's it. I think 11 actually. I think the finale is not included in the 10. But they're done and done chapters. They do connect. Like it's not like you just play scenarios and that's it, but you know exactly what you're getting into. You could sit down for an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3 if you're really exploring, and get a full-fledged kind of like one-off scenario, almost like a modular kind of style D&D, and then you're like, okay, boom, that was done, save our progress, and move on. What makes this game fantastic is it is based off of Role Player, which is a dice drafting, create your own D&D character game, but you can actually make those characters and import them into this game, which I highly recommend you do. They do have precons that you can get. So you don't have to own Role Player, but I think it kind of does enhance the game if you have your own character. And yeah, so this is like a pre-con, tells you how to make your stats and what the name of the character is, and then you're good to go. But if you don't want to play role player to do that, or you don't own it, you don't want to spend the money to get it all, then yeah, I guess I guess I understand. But yeah, you basically are going from location to location and having encounters, making skill checks that are utilizing the dice system in skills and combat, where you are needing very specific. I wonder if I can find a picture of like a skill check. Yes, perfect. So this is a skill check that they're trying to make, and you're utilizing your character's strengths, which are either spending like stamina cubes to guarantee you're getting a die of a specific color, and then you draw from a bag, and you're trying to utilize your cards to change the faces of the dice, the colors of the dice, re-roll them, pull new dice, all to try and fill out the skill check that you're trying to do. In this case, they probably need a 3 purple, they need a 5 purple, a 1 red, a 1 white, or blue. So they could utilize, I mean, this is a white and a green, so they could put that here. But if they have a card, if someone on the team has a card that turns blues, you can decrease it by 2, then you can put that there. So that's kind of what you're doing. Over the course of the game does kind of get easier. You are flooded with a lot of, higher items and stuff, but I think they revised the rules to kind of either make hard mode way hard or kind of balance it out a little bit whenever the Gold Packs of Secret expansion came out. But when you're going from location to location, ooh, hold on, there was a good picture, I think. Yeah, here's a combat one where you're using dice to try and hit these locations before taking damage. But whenever you're going to location, you'll have a lot of keywords and checkpoints that will tell you where to go in the story, and you get to make decisions. I haven't redone the campaign. I really want to, because I'm very curious on how sprawling the actual game is. Because our game went in a very specific path, and I feel like you have like mainly 3 endings. You at least have 3 factions you can ally with. We obviously chose one. We went all in, and then there's 2 others. So I am curious at how expansive the game is, but it was very nice to just know exactly what I needed to record or what was going to be played that day, just to be like, okay, hey, we're on chapter 5. Boom. Set up chapter 5, not touching anything else. We don't have to reach into the box after being side blinded by like, actually you need this character, you need this enemy. It's like, ugh, I can't even, I don't want to get up right now. It's just all very, what's the word? It is just, yep, accessible. It's all very accessible. So yep, that is most likely why it went up 2 spots, because I've actually finished it and it's still in my collection. I'm very excited to try out the expansion, and I really, really hope that Thunderworks continues to support this, because I think they're officially done with Role Player, the dice drafting game, and I really hope they just continue to pump more content into Role Player adventures. So only time will tell. This came out in 2021. This expansion was on Kickstarter in, I think, 2022 and came out last year. So we shall see. The Nephros Judgment expansion is really good too. That gives a little bit more depth to your character. It's basically a box. It's basically this massive book that gives you your character a backstory that at very specific chapters and locations your character can have an encounter, and I think that enhances the game even more. So good expansion there. So that was my number 6, Role Player Adventures. Then we move on to number 5, which I'm actually surprised is actually at number 5, because I think this game is fantastic, and that is Ark Nova. So, I mean, Jesus Christ. What's to be said about Ark Nova? That hasn't already been said. I mean, it's sitting at number 3 in strategy and number 4 in overall. I've recently done a review over the expansion, the Marine Worlds expansion that came out, and it's fantastic. It basically fixes the initial issues with Ark Nova, which I guess for some people it might be the length, but it doesn't fix that. But it fixed the milling issues of just having that massive deck of animal cards, but it does it in such a very tactful way that it didn't just have an action that lets you mill cards. It makes sense to the mechanisms of the game. But if at this point, if you're the only one watching this who has not heard of Ark Nova, you are making a zoo. It's a tableau building. Not really polyominoes. It's not polyominoes because it's not those shapes, but it's a tableau builder. So if you're also unfamiliar with Terraforming Mars, a lot of people compare them to that. I've played both, and I played them both recently. I see why there were the initial similarities, but now I kind of, differentiate them because, like, they do play different from one another. But what makes Ark Nova really cool is you have these action cards in front of you that all you do is you pick one of these actions. The action on it is going to be depend on the strength of where it's at. So animals right here is you can play an animal card from your hand, and if it's at the 3 strength, you can only play 1. If you wait till it gets to 5, then it goes to 2. But once you do it, it gets knocked down all the way to 1. So you want to if you want to play 2 animals from your hand, you're going to have to do other actions to bump this up to 5 and then play it. This is such a neat system. I really like this action selection. But yeah, you are putting in like this Australian dingo. It needs to be in a 2 enclosure, which it could be. It costs 13 to put out, gives you these symbols and has an ability, and gives you 3 attendance. There's two tracks you're trying to do in ways of scoring. Conservation points, which are put on the green, and I think it's attendance or something like that. Basically, it's like ticket sales. So eventually, whenever those 2 of your icons cross, that's the end of the game. Whoever has the higher spread of points will win. But there is a bit going on. This game is a massive table hog. You have this massive deck of cards that are going to be put out for either animals or conservation projects or projects in general that give you passive abilities. You can get sponsors and universities that give you icons that you need for various other animals. Contributing to these conservation projects down here, like this one. This one is like, hey, depending on the number of primates you have, if you have 5, you can put that on there to get 5 conservation points, which is a lot. There's a lot that goes into this, but man, if you love animals and if you love the zoo, which actually I don't like zoos, but I love the idea of, hey, you're creating your own zoo for conservation purposes. Like, hey, this animal is endangered, or what it might be. Then that's kind of the feeling I get instead of being like, hey, everyone, look at this animal. Yeah, we just tranked it and brought it in. Yeah, it's concrete. That's a cool enclosure, right? It's like, I want you dead. So this is such a fantastic game. The Marine Worlds expansion adds, obviously, aquatic animals. It adds aquariums and adds new, unique action cards that you draft. Everyone drafts at the beginning of the game, so they will have... not all of them, but a few of these will be completely different from everyone else in the game. And I think that's a really cool addition to Ark Nova, just some more personal player powers. There are a bunch of different maps that you can play on that have different rules on how you expand and build out, because they also have a zoo map pack. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in Ark Nova, but still I find it to be still very like contained. Like, this looks like a lot of just pieces and stuff, but once you play the game, it just kind of makes sense. At least, to me it does. It's done so well, like, since it came out. I don't know how long they're going to keep supporting it. Their expansion says Zoo Map Pack 1, which leads me to believe there's going to be more. This expansion just came out, but after Water, I don't really know what you do after that. So yeah, that is my number 5 Ark Nova. Okay, so now let's move on to my number 4, which was not actually on the original list. Again, I don't know why. Like, I mean, hell, fucking 2 years. Like, feels like forever ago, 2021, just a year after COVID started. Yay! Yeah, anyway, this is another campaign game that I have finished on the channel. I'm starting to become more and more proud of myself because these are finished. God, it would suck if I was revisiting this and it's like, nope, still haven't done it. Um, but that is Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold. Maybe I didn't include this just again because it's I don't know. I don't know why, honestly, because it's not a remake, and maybe I didn't finish it either, and I wanted to talk about other games. Who knows? But Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold is a way better legacy version of Aeon's End than Aeon's End Legacy, which I actually have redone Legacy 2. And it's fine. I really just like it for the more content. Here they put a lot more emphasis on the narrative. While the writing it's not amazing. Like you're not gonna bust out in laughter or break down in tears from it. It's serviceable. Like that, but that's never really been Aeon's End strong suit with its storytelling. It's a cool world, and it does justice enough to have you be somewhat invested. But they, like I just showed you, they have two kind of campaigns with the Azer and Gravehold. It's basically what kickoff point do you want, and kind of which perspective do you want, but it's not like two individual campaigns. There's a ton of content in this. Like it's, I would have to say it's at least twice the content of the original Aeon's End Legacy. Bunch of envelopes, and what makes Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold fantastic is just, yeah, the sheer amount of nameless that are coming in, like Paradox of Myth and Bone and Fate Shepherd, even though I think the Fate Shepherd is the really, really bad one. I can't remember if this is the one that made you swap decks, which my friend Brad absolutely hated. But there's a bunch of just extra stuff that Aeon's End brings, and I love Aeon's End. It is easily, I think I have it as my number one deck builder. I recently just did deck building, and I can't even, like a top 10 deck builders, and I can't even remember what number one was. Pretty sure it was Aeon's End. The fact of that you have, obviously a market of cards, and then from just different gems and spells and relics that you're putting into your deck, and the fact that your deck doesn't shuffle, and you're seeding cards to be able to cast spells, the cooperative nature of all the players. I'm supposed to say both because I only ever play Aeon's End at 2. Allows you to really feel a part of the battle. I still, to this day, consider Aeon's End a boss battler, just because whenever you are fighting, or when you're playing the game, you just have the one boss. I mean, it has minions that it brings out, but like that's the entire game. When you're playing Aeon's End, a chapter is going to be what unique boss is coming out, and how are you going to defeat it with the characters that you have in the market that you've put out. It still keeps the sense of legacy that we've kind of come to know, where you're not tearing up cards, but you are writing on cards, and you are putting stickers on stuff. But they do a really good job kind of with the end pack, where it's like, okay, if you want to put this stuff into your other stuff, then replace these cards, and you're basically replacing the cards that you've written on, put stickers on, and things like that. And they do a few neat ideas throughout the entire story. Again, nothing super amazing, but I think there was only like one boss that we didn't like. Everything else was still unique to Aeon's End. And with how many nameless there actually are, it's like, man, how are they not running out of ideas with this title? So and it's also, again, manageable. Like it's not just this, okay, save whenever you want. You're able to, section it out and play it piece by piece. The one thing about Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold that sucks, and it's an Aeon's End problem, is there's no real storage. That's what makes this game kind of difficult to get to the table, is there's just no real way to store it, but that's more of a problem with these card games instead of really anything. But yeah, the turn order deck, I mean, I'm kind of talking about Aeon's End now, but it's in here. The initiative deck, where the turn it's shuffled and you have every player has a number assigned to them, and you just are drawing from this deck, so you don't know who's going to go and in what order, but at least you know that someone's going to get to go, while defending Gravehold and keeping everyone engaged and alive, while activating their special powers. These are the four, I think, starting characters from. They must have chosen. I think this is the Azer side, because that's also going to determine who your starting characters are, which is cool. And the characters play different. They have their own kind of unique starting decks. If you're looking for just if you have a few Aeon's End stuff and you're like, oh, what should I get next? I mean, Legacy of Gravehold is a really good starting off point just because there's so much content, so many envelopes, cards that you're gonna have a lot just from this one box alone. So yeah, I have finished a campaign of this as well, so I'm feeling pretty good, and that is my number 4. My number 3 of 2021 was not on the list either, and either I hadn't played it by then, or that's probably going to be it. I don't think I had played it whenever I did this, but I have now, and I absolutely love it, and that is Imperium Legends or Classic. I always choose Legends because I like the theme more. I like the civilizations that are in it. Let's see, what's in it? Yeah, the Arthurian, Atlantean, Egyptian, Mauryan, Minoan, Olmec, Chin, and Utopian civilizations. These feel a little bit more creative than the classics, but I have both, and they're the same game. Like, if you own one and you go to play the other, it's the same exact rules. This is another deck builder about civilizations that has one of the best solo variants I have seen. It's done so well. I mean, where you are playing your civilization from barbaric state all the way up into, I think it's just city state. Yeah, like this one, they're playing the Egyptians, and your setup is very unique too because you have your deck of starting, kind of like your starting cards for your class or for your faction. You have your civilization deck that you will eventually be just pulling from that goes into your deck, so that's going to be a little bit different than you get once the Egyptians get unification in, then they flip to their non-barbarian side. And every time you now have to reshuffle your deck, you are putting in unique civilization cards that will get you a bunch of points. I mean, the end of the game is whoever has the most points in their deck, from either straight up victory points or for modifiers like, hey, this one is, where is it? Yeah, this one's 2 points per every, I don't remember what that icon is, for each of those icons in your deck. And then some of them are just 4 points like that. But it's 100% a deck building game based around your civilization. You're gonna, let's see, that's actually set up for solo. Yeah, here we go. Here's a good one. This is your market of there we go, of cards that whenever you're trying to grab them, you can grab them from here. You can break through to either not take any unrest, because some cards require you to take unrest, which are negative points, and they clog up your hand. There's different types of cards that you're wanting to get, like regions, and these are like alliances, like the Vikings are now allied to you. Civilization and uncivilized cards. There's the King of Kings cards up here that you can get that are just sweeping victory points. It is such an awesome civilization deck building game that where I wouldn't say every civilization plays different, and they do. There's some that are a little bit more similar than others, like in the classics, your Greeks and Romans like play pretty much identical, which thematically makes sense, but mechanically, like in the game, it's not as exciting to jump into and be like, um, yeah, yeah, like to be like, oh, hey, out of these eight, two of them play the same, but the others, like the Carthaginians, the Celts, the Macedonians, Persians, Scythians, and Vikings, those all play different. I've actually taught this game more often than not, which is kind of weird because I usually don't teach games if I'm not also playing. But yeah, I've taught many people how to play this game, and the solo variant for it is done so well. This is actually a really good picture. Is you can play against any civilization. It's not just a generic bot. You play against the other civilization. So you can do, they have the Macedonians as they're playing, and then they're playing up against the Persians, and you have a die that you roll that determines, what's not getting played. So in this, I don't know why there's a 4, but let's say they rolled a 6, and all these cards are getting played, and whatever the icons are, it's like, oh, okay, so the Persians, they're in their barbaric state, so let's look at the icon. It happened to be the blue one, so they gain 2 resources and 2 population. Discard the top card from the bot deck and put this card into the history. And that's going to be different from the Minoans, who don't even have that icon as an option, or the Olmecs in their barbaric state. They don't even have that. But if we look at like regions, it's like, okay, well, the Persians gain a population and they play it, and the Olmecs gain a victory point and then they play it. So the Minoans just play it. So they all, I mean, yeah, there's slight modifications, but overall the solo variant is exquisite, and you can combine the classics and the legends boxes together and face off against one another. It's done so well, and at this point there's going to be another one in 2024 that I cannot wait, because it's adding in, oh god, 16 Abbasid, Ascamite, Cultist, Gupta, Inuit, Japanese, Magyar, Martian, Mayan, Polynesian, Sassanid, Taino, Tang, and Wagadu. Wagadu! I think that's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Sorry, 14. That's right, it's 16 total, and then there's a total of, so now you would have a total of 30 civilizations to play from. So, yeah, very, very excited. Love Imperium. It's an awesome, awesome deck builder that if you haven't given it a shot, I highly recommend it. So that is my number 3, Imperium. My number 2 was number 3 last time I did this, but it's bumped up, and I have played so much of this game. Funny enough, I play Imperium solo more than anything, and this game is also purely solo, and that is Final Girl. Final Girl is just exquisite in terms of theme and atmosphere, and I mean gameplay. It's a lucky game, but I find this game to be such a blast. If you're not familiar, Final Girl is a game where you play the final girl in a horror series, going facing off against whichever killer you happen to have. So in this picture, for example, you have individual boxes. There's box sets of the final girls that are more closely tied to the killer. So Dr. Fright, you have these 2 girls, and then Dr. Fright himself. But what makes Final Girl so amazing is that every single box, and there's 2 seasons out at this point, already confirmed, or not confirmed, Series 3 is funded and in production. So 3 series since 2021, and all of it is compatible with one another. You can mix locations, you can mix killers with each other, you can mix final girls, you can mix, that's pretty much it. So you could play Hans on the Inkanyamba location with the Geppetto Final Girl. Like, you can combine all that together, and that's going to give you a completely different setup and a completely different feel when you're playing the game. In fact, I've actually done rankings on both Series 1 and 2 killers and locations, which people have said this have helped them decide which box to get. So that's cool. Um, in this case, like in this picture, they're facing off against Hans at his location. Looks like he actually just won based off Hans being toppled over. But you're managing your horror level, like the lower horror, the lower threat, the more dice you're going to get to roll. It's similar to Hostage Negotiator in that you have a hand of cards that you're trying to play and you roll dice to try and get a certain number of successes. Like this weak attack, for example, is whenever you're going to attack, you play that, and if you get 2 stars, then you do 1 damage. If you get 1 star, you do a damage, but you also lose a health. You need cards to be able to sprint, you need cards to search, which every location has specific spots that you can go search. Like the utility shed, has pepper spray in it, but once you pull that from, the deck stay face down, so you don't know if you want to go back and try and get items. There's event cards based off the location that are getting drawn occasionally. What makes this still so amazing is the fact that what the decks that are being combined are the terror decks, which are drawn at the end of every round. The item cards and and then the event decks. So those are all just going to give you a completely different feel. Like having Hans in Series 2, there's a Red Riding Hood scenario. You can put Hans in that location, and that's just going to feel different. And that's the great thing about Final Girl. That's why I shot it to my number 2. I mean, it was number 3 in 2021, but even went up even higher, beating out all these other new games just because I play this all the time. And another fun thing I've done on Halloween is I had my wife play this game because it was solo only. I couldn't do anything, but I just kind of sat there and watched her play it and help her through scenarios or what's going on, make it thematic, almost play like a light DM kind of style. And I mean, it was a blast. Like, who'd we mix? We mixed, I think, we did The Thing. So there's Final Girl Series 2. Yeah, we did Panic at Station 2891, which is The Organism or The Thing. We did this at the Madness in the Dark scenario, which is the Ratchet Lady. So this was the location we chose, and then we did The Thing, Monster, The Organism. And it was amazing. It was super cool, super thematic. I mean, horrifying if you think about it, in a insane asylum where you don't know who the creatures are, but it works. It's done so well. I don't even know how I got here. Because I think it was showing the box set of Series 2. But yeah, if you don't like basically pure luck, there are some ways for you to mitigate the dice, but very, very few. It is kind of like a slight beer and pretzels. You just kind of have to go with the flow on a lot of stuff, but I think this theme kind of topples all of that. That if you're not getting the best rolls, then who cares? It's probably going to be funny or thematic in some way. You got to have that kind of headspace going in. But yeah, Final Girl is amazing. And that is my number 2 for the Revisited. And to no one's surprise, my number 1 was number 1 last time. It was never going to be dethroned, and that is Sleeping Gods, which now, 2 years later, has a sequel, Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, that, I mean, to be fair, does improve on a lot of stuff, but to me, it didn't really take away anything from this version. Sleeping Gods is still currently my favorite game, and I am now including kind of this one and Distant Skies, mainly just because of the sheer storytelling and sandbox nature, while also keeping it, I mean, this looks insane. Like, this is a shit ton of content. because I was gonna say, oh, while keeping it contained, and I mainly mean that rules wise, because while there are games that have kind of better atmosphere and better storytelling, um, they're rules hogs, and you just kind of have to. You're always looking in the rule book. You're always uh, like forgetting something. And in this case, Sleeping Gods is a lot more manageable. But with the original Sleeping Gods, you have 8 characters they are managing, leveling them up, basically just getting plopped into this map book, and then you're just kind of just told to go explore. You're basically just trying to get these totems that have various abilities, and eventually you'll get to the end, the event deck that would be here. Once you go through that 3 times, that's going to be your overall game. And you just get bombarded, not really bombarded, but you, for lack of a better term, you get bombarded with quests that kind of give you a vague direction on where you want to go. It's just amazing. Like, I mean, this is one of those games that you're playing that if you don't keep an eye on the time, you're going to sit there and be like, oh my god, it's been 8 hours. How did that happen? This game utilizes these command tokens that you need to activate your character's special abilities or to activate equipment that you've acquired over the course of the game, which could be followers, could be items, could be food for you to heal. They could be special powers to activate totems. You have to manage your ship, and each location can take damage that you're wanting to repair it, and to be able to use it to either get more command tokens to heal and stuff like that. There's a lot of like RPG elements that are put into this game, still while keeping it very just like pure to its core. Pretty much all you do in this game is travel to a location. Oh, in this case, end there. This, I think that's 192. Turn to 192 in the book, or now there's a narrative app, which makes it that much better. It's like, oh, thank God, there's audio narration. And then you have an encounter, and you fulfill quests. You make decisions that will then give you either more quests to just fulfill it. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know why Sleeping Gods just does everything for me. I mean, Distant Skies improves on it as well. The combat in the game is more of a puzzle, which I really, really enjoy. In this, it's like, okay, this Titanic Centipede is going to deal 3 damage plus any extra damage that's left uncovered. As you deal damage, with Steven Seagal. No, as you deal damage, you have to place it on these grid spots, but you have to decide how much you want to, because it, like, once you knock out all the hearts, you've killed the enemy. But it's like, well, we're doing 2 damage. Do we want to try and deal with so it's not giving us venom or poison? Do we want to try and cover up some hearts? Do we want to cover up its head and the arm so it's not doing 7 damage to us? Like, there's that kind of decision making whenever you're fighting against these enemies. There's these synergy tokens that every character has a synergy token that you can give to another player that gives them kind of a special ability. The combat, I love that puzzly nature. I mean, like this one you have to try and hit. This does have accuracy as well. So there's that element of randomness, but there's a ton of items you get that give you ways to redraw or modify that, so you barely miss. It's amazing. And Distant Skies, I mean, this is another campaign I've actually finished on the channel, so yeah, 3 for 3, right? Role Player Adventures, Aeon's End Legacy, and Sleeping Gods. Yeah, 2021. Hey, it might take me 2 years to finish campaigns, but I'll finish them. And even then, like, you just barely scratch the surface with this. Like, in Distant Skies seems to have just as much content, even though I'm not even close to finishing that one, so that yet remains to be seen. But so far, it feels like it's it has just as much. So yeah, that is my number one game of 2021 still, even after revisiting it. So let's take a look at the original list. So the original list, I had Bloodborne, the board game. That was at number 2. That's not even on the list anymore. I don't own this. This game was great until you got to the small box expansions. The big box expansions were easily done very, very well, but there's a lot of small box ones that were just ass. Like, pretty much, if you didn't have like the core game is really good. Forsaken Cainhurst Castle was good, but it fell off pretty hard for me that I don't even own it, and Bloodborne's my favorite video game. Descent, Legends of the Fall is another one, or Legends of the Fall, Legends of the Dark. Legends of the Fall is a movie. This also kind of fell off for me. It kind of started to become more tedious to jump into. Very, very close to actually finishing. And they have Act 2 out, and this 3D thing is really cool for a little bit. It eventually starts to get kind of cumbersome to deal with. I felt the combat started to feel a little bit, kind of whatever, like samey and repetitive. The story, I couldn't even tell you what was happening because it was just so generic. And then once Act 2 was basically the same thing with they had an opportunity to make voice acting really shine in this, because a lot of the stuff is managed in the app, which is cool. I love the percentage stuff that they included, but yeah, it just kind of got very tired. Let's see. Solomon Kane was another one that was on the list, which I no longer own either. This is one that I thought about getting back, but then I think about the amount of effort it takes to actually play this game. There's a lot of really cool gimmicks in this, and the decisions or controlling the virtues is very neat in the world, and writing is really good. But it's done by Mythic Games, and their erratas are still almost like they feel like a mess. It's like you need an errata to the errata. That I just never really wanted to set up a story. And they had a ton of stuff for this. Like, I ended up getting all of this. This was right before Mythic Games just completely shit the bed. But I had everything for it, but it's I never really wanted to set it up. Then last one, well, actually, there's 2 more. Philosophia Floating Worlds. I do still actually have this game, and it basically fell off because I haven't played it since 2021. I really do need to go back and play this, because I remember it being, the art is gorgeous. I think it had it was everything was asynchronous. Kind of an I pick, you choose of actions. You have to split the action cards and have your opponent decide what they want to do. I think it was a matter of hunting monsters and also looking for your opponent's temple. I don't really remember much about this game, honestly, hence why it's not even on the list. I know that at a 7, it was a lot better than their Dare to Be Wise one. Oh, okay, by 0.1. But yeah, I remember really being taken aback by Philosophia Floating World. As you can see, it's a 9. I haven't adjusted because I can't. I guess I could read all this and see what it is, but that's why it fell off. I need to replay it. And then the honorable mention for the original was Unsettled, which I actually is one of the very, very few games that I've gotten rid of that I want back. Normally, every game I've sold or traded or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, okay, I never really need that again. But there's something about this game that makes me want it again. And it's kind of like the plug and play, cooperative survival, go to a planet and deal with the puzzles that scenario is giving you on that particular planet. One thing I absolutely hated about this game was its storage solution. It provided you storage for 2 of the planet boxes, but gave you 8. It's that's complete trash. I really hate that how they stored it, but everything else is really, really succinct and clean. Like when you go to a planet, you're going to have everything that's unique to that planet in the game trays. But yeah, like I think that this one just does a really good job of making the game engaging and funny because the writing's really witty. But yeah, I just don't own it, so that's why it's not in my revised top 10. And that is everything. That was my revised top 10 games of 2021. Let me know what games were your favorite in 2021, and also let me know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.